Hello and welcome back to another edition of Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what the story is about today. Well, we have two stories today, and the first story is titled I, 28, found out my 27-year-old newlywed wife of 6 months has been having a secret relationship with her 33-year-old married co-worker while out of town for work. An odd message on Facebook revealed everything.
I met my wife just over 2 years ago upon returning from a military deployment. She's in the military as well and had just moved to the same town for a long-term training syllabus. We hit it off great, better than any other relationship I had been in by a long shot, with plenty of strong defining moments. We've had stupid fights over things like the AC not working, but overall, awesome at conflict resolution and not fighting routinely. Just over a year into dating, we moved in together and bought a puppy. That fall, I proposed. Our families have had a great relationship with us and each other. She then had to move to another state for another 6 months of training before we would be back together, so we got legally married to ensure we'd get orders together, not uncommon in the military. With the pandemic, our leave requests were routinely denied, minus the Thanksgiving and Christmas period, until both of us were vaccinated. I finally had leave approved and plane tickets to see her the same week this all fell apart. While apart, we FaceTimed every night, texted throughout the day, were house shopping for our next duty station together, continued to plan our real wedding in the church with friends and family, did taxes, watched movies, and plenty more to facilitate the long distance. Hours before I found out about the relationship, we were having a conversation about how exciting it is that our period of distance is coming to a close and how strong we were in making it work.
Well, OP thought because both of them had been in long-distance relationships prior to meeting each other, they knew how to do it right.
Then I received an odd message from someone on Facebook. Hey, our spouses are fooling around with each other. I found pictures and videos. I ignored it, thinking it was spam and that the next message would be a link for my credit card information or something. Then another message. Hey, call me when you can. Your wife and my husband are fooling around with each other. I have pics and video on WhatsApp. It's happened 3 times unprotected. They've also said I love yous. At this point, I'm realizing this isn't spam, but instead maybe this poor woman is having a weird mental breakdown. I call my wife and ask her to check in on her friend when mid-phone call the pictures and videos were sent to me. My knees gave out, and the only thing I remember was hearing my wife say, "I'm so sorry, I was never going to tell you." I accidentally knocked a glass off of the counter behind me when I fell and stepped on it and cut my foot, but I wasn't even feeling it. I call my boss and tell him I can't come to work tomorrow. I call my mother and my best friend. The cut was bad, so in the morning I went to the ER and I received 6 stitches. My wife called every minute for the next several hours, but I ignored them. Since then, I've had limited contact with my wife other than a couple of phone calls where I do my best to control my emotions and ask why. She says she felt an immense amount of guilt about our next duty station. I didn't get the job I wanted, but it wasn't her fault, and claimed she felt pressured whenever I would routinely say, "It's okay, all I need to be happy is to be with you." She also claims how lonely and purposeless she felt going through her training, and that this other man was already confiding in her about his unhappy marriage of 16 years with 3 kids. She admits to saying she loved him and that she had an emotional connection with him, but didn't mean it. She just didn't want to hurt him by not saying it back.
Well, on his end, she claims he never did anything wrong and she accepts full blame.
I decided that, no matter what, I needed a lawyer. He pointed out that under military law, I could charge her and the other husband with infidelity and some other crimes, and that they could lose their jobs pretty easily. After plenty of thought and therapy sessions, I decided that vengeance won't solve anything here, and that we really just need a clean-cut divorce under civilian law. Since we only got legally married right before my wife moving, we've maintained separate finances and share no assets or debt right now. I've also been the dog's primary caretaker, and he's been registered under my name and state, so I want to keep him. Here's what I keep asking myself. Am I rushing into the divorce? My wife seems truly remorseful and wants to stay together, but I can't tell if she's just feeling shame or actually sorry. My therapist leads me to believe she is narcissistic and that she needs professional help, and that I need to accept that she's not the woman I thought I married. I wouldn't say I proposed earlier than I would have liked, but we definitely got paper married early to ensure our careers would keep us together, and we're in a very exciting phase of buying a home and planning the real wedding with friends and family. We've tackled many obstacles together throughout our relationship super well, but this is the first one where I feel our team is divided. Either way, I don't want to see her anytime soon after what's happened, let alone buy a house with her, or feel like I can trust her when we eventually go on our next deployment. While it may seem quick, I feel like the end result of divorce is the rational option that's best for both of us. If anything, and we were truly meant to be, we can always get remarried, and the real way since we're still going to the same duty station next anyway. But she needs to get this demon out of her that caused her to be unfaithful.
End of the first story. Well, OP, as the grey man commented, you better cut your losses. Pursuing anything with her into the future will only bring further heartache and trouble. Some people are very good at being somebody else than who they truly are. If you have never seen who she truly is by now, she doesn't want you to, and you may never see it. I know it's bad, I've been there. It can do real damage to you, and the sooner you start the healing process, you will find your true person. The sooner you get to the point in your life, you will be glad that you moved on. Second story is titled, Our Holiday in Hawaii.
My wife and I took a trip to Hawaii in September 2018. In Hawaii, we would always stay in hotels, but this time around, we decided to stay at an Airbnb and get the more local feel of the island. When we showed up there, the owner was outside and greeted us. He was a young guy in his 30s, was a photographer for Vans, and was very nice. We had an amazing trip all week long, and the Airbnb was a perfect choice. After we had left the island, the owner of the Airbnb commented and gave my wife a lot of attention on social media. She fell into a lot of his traps. He would say things like, "Leave your husband and I could make your career in fashion amazing. Come live with me on the island. I can get you a position at Vans," etc. I could always sense something was off between me and my wife. I would confront her about certain things, but she would deny it. She would use Snapchat, Instagram, and even FaceTime to communicate with this guy. One day, I was so curious, I started snooping around for evidence. I felt bad at first going behind her back, but I felt the need to do so. I read an email that she wrote to a psychic, and she said, "Do you see anything with a man named X? He just came into my life." Right when I read that, my heart sunk. I immediately picked up my cell phone and texted her what that email was about. She of course denied everything and gave me a runaround story, and I believed her.
Now, 6 to 8 months went by, but OP could always sense something was still off.
I would always think of her response when I asked her what that email was about, and I just felt a bad feeling. I started not to sleep very well and having very weird dreams. Eventually, it led to an anxiety panic attack that I have never experienced ever before in my life. These things would happen right before I went to bed. I eventually had to get high to help me calm down and get to sleep. She decided to take a trip with her sister to Hawaii during the summer. I couldn't attend that trip because I had work obligations. Of course, I funded the whole trip for her to go with her sister, and little that I knew that she was meeting up with the owner of the Airbnb that we stayed at before. While her sister was sleeping, she snuck out the door and the guy picked her up in his car. Supposedly, they had physical relations in his car and they parted ways. She claims that she did not enjoy it the whole time and that she immediately felt sick entering the car. She has felt guilty, remorseful, shame, and has even had bad thoughts because of her actions. She held in this little secret for almost 2 years. She decided to come clean about this because we were having some trouble in our marriage, and I eventually sat her down to say, I think it's smart to part ways. I was extremely shocked to hear it, and my immediate reaction was a feeling of joy and happiness for her that she didn't have to carry that around anymore. The next couple days that went by, and even weeks, were the hardest. I kept on thinking, how did I not see this coming? What is it about me that made her want to have another relationship with someone else? It has now been almost 4 months since I found out, and every night before bed, I still get this sensation of heartache and sorrow. My first thought that comes to mind every morning is her being unfaithful to me. For the first 2 to 3 hours of the day, I always feel sick and nauseous. We have had a lot of heart-to-heart conversations, and I truly do believe that she regrets the whole thing and that she wishes she could take back everything in a heartbeat. But, for some reason, I still feel sick and nauseous every day.
Now, here is the update.
I was finally so fed up with everything emotionally, I decided to message the guy. The very next day, I woke up to a message from his wife. His wife said she saw my message in his inbox and would like to chat with me. I decided to hop on the phone with her to talk about our significant others messing around. I was really hoping to figure out how much my wife was involved and how much she actually pushed that relationship forward, but she didn't have any of that evidence for me. She said she has only seen one screenshot of my wife in a bikini on his phone. She said the screenshot looked like a post on her Instagram story, so it wasn't anything that my wife sent him in particular. She continued to tell me about her husband and how he acts. She said that my wife was one of 100 other girls that he has in his inbox. She also told me a tangent story about him renting a unit out to a fitness model on his property, and one day he aggressively threw himself on her and the fitness model resisted so much that he quit. I guess they worked out an agreement amongst each other not to press charges. After my conversation with his wife, I truly believe that my wife got caught up in a predator situation. She got wrapped up like the hundreds of other girls that he baited. I truly feel like my wife was a victim.
End of the story. Well, Lopi, finding out about your spouse cheating is like having a death in the family. Something inside of you died when you found out. You will never feel the same about your wife again. Time might heal the intensity of the pain you're experiencing, but time won't erase the memories of her actions. That will always be with you. Try therapy if you want to save the marriage, if it's all you can do besides divorce. Good luck to you.